Future trading involves risk and is not suitable for all investors. Content provided in this segment is meant for educational purposes and is not a solicitation to buy or sell commodities.
Welcome to Grain Gab, a show where we sit back and gab about what's on our minds and what's going on in the markets and how it's affecting you, our producer, and just what to do about it. Look, the grain markets are forever crazy, moving, changing, downright can be very emotional. That's why we're here to sit down to look at things holistically, find a strategic yet grounded approach to handling the obstacles that the market may give us. Hi, I'm Lori Nelson. I'm your host. We got Kristin Stien with us today. How's it going, Kristin?
Morning, Lori. We are doing good. It is November 19th as we speak, and it's 53 degrees out and rising. So I cannot complain. It's gorgeous. It's raining. We're getting moisture in the soil after a long harvest of a lack thereof. So all is good. All is good in the world.
Good.
What you drinking today? What's in your cup?
It's just water. Just water today. How about you?
Boring. Okay, fine. It's just water in mine as well. So we'll go with it.
This month, the market's been, I just couldn't find the word. I just said interesting. Corn's up about 50 cents off the lows. Soybeans had seen 60 to 70 cents off the lows. Like you mentioned, harvest was fast and furious. There's moisture across the Midwest. South America's getting planting as they're shaping up with some moisture. You know, this week it kind of feels like a bit of Thanksgiving rush with looking at basis opportunities. December options expire on Friday. We had the WASDE report, which had a cut in corn yield and soybean yields. Exports for corn has been just downright phenomenal. Put ethanol in that bucket. We've seen some really good demand on ethanol. Soybean oils, we've seen some exports. Will that continue with the election results? Managed money, corn's long, close to 100,000 contracts. Soybeans are still short. I guess I'd throw in the U.S. dollar is trading 106 there, so nice and strong. So I laid out almost everything I could think of. And what does this mean all going forward as we break this down, Kristin?
To be a winter, or we'll call it winter month, we sure have a lot to talk about because that's not normal. Right? Usually it's what are we going to talk about? And there's plenty here on the plate. Elections certainly help with that and everything in between that goes with that. So your word interesting is a funny word to me. And a little secret, it's the word that I use when I have no idea what word to use. It'll be interesting, these markets, right? Like who knows what'll happen? And I think you hit the nail on the head. Right. And that's where I want to hone in back to those marketing rules. Right. Number 2, understand and accept that you cannot control or predict the markets. Make the best decisions with the information that you have today, because that's all we can do. Right. We talked a little bit about the WASDE lowering yields a bit. That was a shock to a lot of people from the stance of typically the saying goes, big crops get bigger. And it's like, well, what's going on here? And before we all go and get our bullhorns out, I think we have to also understand the conditions that this fall brought us, right? That drier weather and that wind dried things down to where I had a ton of guys talking about harvesting 8% beans on the regular, not just 1 or 2 fields that way, and corn 12%, 15%. And so that drier yield really, I mean, there is such a thing as phantom bushel loss, especially on beans, but we're starting to hear more about it on corn too. So actually, when we take that look at it, it's not a huge surprise that the USDA did that. The reason I want to hone in on that is because now we're getting into the conversations of what do I do with the rest of my old crop. We're already starting the post-harvest meetings where we're talking about that, and we're talking about building a plan for new crop, and we can kind of get into that into the next Grain Gab. But the piece that I wanted to hone in on today is what to do with that old crop. The saying that always comes to my mind is, as you know more about a crop, the more you know, the less valuable it becomes, right? And let that sink in. The more you know, the less valuable it becomes. And the reason for that is the volatility factor. There is a fear of the unknown. Naturally, there's going to be volatility in that market that raises prices a little bit higher than what they would be, even if it is a crop failure, what they would be if I knew what it actually was. That's like anything in life, right? And so when we think about the fact that it's in the bins, whether it's at the co-op or whether it's in our own bins, we already know we have a really, really good idea as to what we're sitting on now. Can that number change? Sure. We've got a whole nother report coming in January. That's typically the big one where they finalize that number. But by and large, we have a pretty good feel for that. And so then it's a function of, okay, so what do I do with that fact? And so then I go back to the bushels in the bin, right? And you alluded to basis getting strong. It feels like we've got that Thanksgiving rush coming along where buyers are starting to come in and saying, give me your grain, please give me your grain. So if you're in one of those markets that has a good basis opportunity, we really should start taking a look at that for the sole reason that our bins are not to be used as a wishing well. They are to be, am I speaking a little conviction there, Lori? They are not to be used as a wishing well. They're to be used as an investment tool. And aside from getting that crop out of the field in a fast manner, the number 2 reason we use grain bins is for a return on investment. And again, it's not putting it in the bin unpriced and selling it, hoping that the market goes up. It's saying, what is the carry in the market and what type of basis opportunities can I get going forward? And so this is where I go back to, we can't control or predict what the demand story is going to be. We have a lot of assumptions around tariffs and oil and how that impacts ethanol and what the 45Z tax credit will do and blah, 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 right? At the end of the day, we still have no idea how this new administration will come in and affect the demand side. During harvest, late night scrolling on Facebook, waiting for my husband to come home after the kids were in bed, I found this Facebook reel of this farmer that took a video of him putting grain in the bin and the price was $4.40, and he took grain out of the bin and the price was $3.40. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I chuckled quite a bit because is that not like the story of the farmer right there? And at the same time, it was like the both and. It was funny and frustrating because he could have turned that $4.40 into a $4.60 or a $4.80 pretty darn easily by selling the carry, by capturing that and then waiting for that basis improvement. And so when we're looking at basis improving now, and we've already kind of captured carry in the market, by golly, sell this. You used your number 1 advantage on your grain bins and you got the bushels out during the fall. Now it's time to take advantage, meet your cash flow needs, meet your logistical needs, any condition issues that you may have in the bin, take advantage of all of that this winter. So that way, when it's spring and summer, you can focus on planting and spraying and all the other things that come with farming as a result of that. I'll get off my soapbox now, but that's the main thing that I really want to stress to farmers is using those grain bins as they were created, not for this wishing well of hoping things get better.
Especially when we've got the demand really just right in front of us. The ethanol demand, the corn export pieces, it's like it's staring us in the face.
Yeah.
So
that's not guaranteed to stay forever. To your point, especially as the value of our dollar, it goes higher and higher. And we're in an environment where maybe then we're not quite as competitive to the rest of the world. We can't guarantee that exports are going to stay around. We can't guarantee if we drill, baby, drill, that our ethanol margins are going to stay there. Can they? Sure. I mean, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Take it while we have it.
Right. What else do you want to talk about, Kristin?
Well, my normal stuff, Lori. My questions for humans. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
I was about ready to close her up. Okay.
Okay. So I've got 2 for you.
Okay.
The first one's going to be, I think, a little easy. And the second one, I hope your face doesn't turn red. Actually, I kind of do hope it does turn red. Would you rather break your nose or get a poison ivy rash all over your body?
I think I'd rather break my nose.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Have you ever been punched in the nose? That hurts.
I've had poison ivy all over my body.
Oh, okay. So you've been there, you know that. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Second question. What is the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to you?
Recently?
Ever, but I mean, if it was recently, that's great. You're living life, right?
Let's just say when your mom says goof around, pretty soon you won't be around, just rang home to me as we were on a conference call last week with the team. And I was kind of goofing around and I flipped over backwards and interrupted the whole call. And I felt like that kid in the room that was being the bad kid and being disruptive. And that was super embarrassing. So I'd have to say that kind of tops the list as recent embarrassments. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Grain Gab. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and hit the like button. It really helps our algorithms. Thanks to Paige and Lexi and the Insights team for making us look good. And until next time, keep your head up, your feet grounded, and cheers.
Cheers.